Welcome to today's product update where we get to announce some pretty cool stuff that we're doing over at Quivr to continue to make advisors' lives even easier. Will, I don't know about you, but I'm very, very excited about this one.
For sure. This is, I mean, of all of the things that I think that we've kind of brought out since we started working together, this might be the one. Like, this is really going to change a lot of people's lives. This is exciting.
I gotta say, all right, so we're pushing a massive update to the workflow engine inside of Archr. It's so big. Will, you've alluded to the point that it might be Archr 2.0. I can get behind that. It's not gonna be hard to convince me of that. But I do have to say, probably the coolest thing about this update that we're doing is that most of the ideas, not all, we had a couple, but most of the ideas came directly from our users. So we knew for probably the last 6 to 12 months that we were going to be doing a massive update to the workflows, right? We just knew that. What we had was fine, but we also know it wasn't the best. Well, it's good, but right, we knew there were room for improvement. And we heard from users at office hours. And then eventually we asked our users to put their money where their mouth is, right? And they joined. We had 6 people join a workflow cohort, operations directors, operations managers, a couple solo advisors who are just super operationally minded. And we worked with them for 4 months almost to build what we are now releasing.
Yeah, I think that's such a neat part of how we're driving this is that it really comes from, we've got some ideas. This is kind of the direction we want to head, but the ability to incorporate a lot of that input from our users and really get a sense of what is, I mean, this is one of my favorite things about Quivr. And one of the things that I really find valuable is that it's not just our team in a room. All of these users, all of these different firms that are using the product in the multitude of ways that they do things to try to get closer to that true best practice. Like, what is a really phenomenal tool that can support everyone, but has all of those, like, well, what about this case? Well, what about this case? Like, it's a really neat way to get to build a tool and enhance a tool for everyone.
For sure. And I'm also excited because only 6 people helped us. We have a lot more users than that. So and I know that the floodgates are going to open and we're going to get some really cool more ideas, and we'll just be able to make this better and better. But without further ado, should we hop in and show the people what they want to see?
Yeah, let's jump in.
All right, so I'm going to share my screen here once I figure that out. There we go. So I'm sharing my screen, and what we're looking at is Archr. So this is for our Quivr users. We are inside of Archr. We're on the building blocks, and we're looking at the workflows. For people that are watching this that are not Quivr users, Archr is our operational framework. It is where you build all of your operational processes and procedures, such as workflows, and then also your automations, right? So you need the building block, which is a workflow, to then allow you to use processes, which are our automations. And again, if you have questions about that as a prospective Quivr user, come do a demo, hit us up, and we will show you everything and then some that you want to know about that. But on this screen, not a lot has changed, right? Maybe the only thing that's changed is we finally got a clone button here. Is that it, Will? I think that's really the only change.
I think that is. I mean, we certainly wanted to keep the familiarity of what people were already used to using, but that clone button is something that we've gotten requests for so often. It's just built this thing, I want almost the exact same thing. Do I have to really start over? Well, not anymore.
Account
Not anymore.
applications at various custodians, et cetera, et cetera. Perfect. One thing to comment before we dive into a workflow, which is where you'll start to see the real changes here. All of your workflows for existing users that you've built, they have not been changed. They're in the system. They're exactly how they used to be, but you now have the ability to edit them and add the additional functionality that we're about to work through. So because you have a prospect process workflow or a backdoor Roth IRA workflow, you have that still. Nothing has changed, but you can add the additional functionality that we're about to talk through.
And Steve, I think it's important to also call out that the templates that we give you will also continue to work. You can basically pull them in, and then in the same way that you edit your own workflow that you've created, you can edit ours. So if you want to add some of these features to those existing workflows, you can change them and you can add all of this functionality going forward. So you still have all of that stuff you've gotten used to. We consider this to be a big benefit, that you're not starting from scratch when you're building workflows with Quivr. You've got this bootstrap that's coming from real existing workflows that have been in production for a lot of different users for a long time. Great. Now you can grab those and just bring them forward with this new tool.
Exactly. Perfect. Then let's hop into the prospect process workflow here. First thing you do when you click on this is for existing users. This might look pretty similar, right? We've heard from many people that big workflows look a little less than ideal because the font gets so small. Well, we now have the ability to zoom in as far as you want, come up here, click fit to screen, get you back to the big one. You can toggle the mini map. Ooh, what's going on in that bottom right corner? Go see that. Scroll around. Play with this as you wish. Everything is still drag and drop. So we heard you guys. And I was the first one to admit that when the workflows got big and large and clunky, they were super hard to read and super hard to see. And we hope this solves that problem. The other thing you'll notice is some solid lines and some dashed lines. Will, what's that?
Yeah, so I think one of the neatest things about this update is we've really tried to add visibility to what's going on in a lot of different places. This is the first place we're going to bump into that. And so those dashed lines indicate where a workflow has become conditional. So there's a choice to be made there. The solid boxes, those are the ones that you're familiar with. It's basically like you hit this and you move on to the next. But yeah, that's the first like little hint that there's some conditional logic going on inside of these. Is you may move forward, you may not, you may move in a different direction. Like there's stuff going on, there's a choice to be made.
Exactly. And how this, you can read this very quickly, is this task has a dashed line, which means upon completing this task, you have to make a decision. Are you going one route, two routes, three routes, no routes? Is the workflow over? Regardless, you have to make a decision. And how you decide what decision must be made is double click into this. Again, everything here is looking identical to what it used to look like, except for this box right here, which is conditional logic. If we click the down arrow, you'll notice you have 5 options. Not conditional is exactly what you're used to. When this task is completed, the next task or tasks are all going to get kicked off. It is essentially saying just always do the workflow the same way. Super easy. The second one is pick any number of paths. That means, let's say in this case, we have 2, right? After this scheduled 20-minute call is done, we have 2 routes we could go. If we were to do the one that says pick any number of paths, we could pick this one, we could pick this one, we could pick both of them, or we could pick neither of them. So you're essentially giving it dealer's choice, right? Pick any route or routes that you want. This one right here, only one path, is probably going to be, I think, the most used one, and especially in a prospect process, because it forces you to pick one or the other. So if we have that one set as only one, we can go left or we can go right. We cannot go both ways, and we cannot ignore them. We have to continue the workflow down the left or the right. And that's what this one is, because after a 20-minute phone call, they're either not a good fit or they are a good fit, right? Go left or go right. Then the last 2 are very similar to each other. Pick at least one path, which means you could pick 1, you could pick 2, you could pick 3. You cannot pick 0. You have to pick at least 1. And then the bottom one is at least 2 paths. You have to pick at least 2. So that at least 1 or at least 2 actually comes up down here a little bit, where let's say we get all the way to the end and these people are going to become clients. Well, what if you want to pick, what if you want, you need to tell me, are they going to be an insurance client, an RIA client, a broker dealer client? Maybe they're going to be an insurance and a broker dealer. Maybe they're going to be an insurance, an RIA, and a broker dealer, right? When they become a client, and again, this may or may not be applicable to your business, but you could pick one of these, you could pick 2 of these, you could pick 3 of these, right? You're telling your people what they have to pick. Anything else to add on that, Will?
No, I think that's a pretty good summary. I mean, obviously, we haven't all gone to law school. We haven't all had philosophy classes. So conditional logic or computer programming, I guess I should add in there. So conditional logic can sometimes be a little confusing. Rest assured, like we're going to cover that. You're going to become an expert because of our community. This is a good, like a lot of what we try to do with Quivr is basically simplify a lot of these concepts down. Salesforce is a good example of that, where we're taking something that's really complex. We're trying to make it more accessible. That conditional logic is going to be exactly the same. So while it may seem a little daunting at first, I think everybody will get to the point where they're comfortable with it.
And there is a video. We know the conditional logic is going to be something that people need more information on. We have a video in the community. I like to keep the community video short, 1, 2, 3 minutes, 4 minutes max for the most part. The conditional logic one is a little bit longer, where we go in a painstaking amount of detail on this actual workflow, and we show you what it's like to build it. And then also we go on the flip side, which we'll cover a little bit in this, but we go on the flip side of, okay, the workflow is built and now it's running. How do I interact with that? What does it feel like to be the end user? So if you are a Quivr user, go watch that video and it'll give you everything you need to know. And if you still have questions, come to office hours, shoot us a message, through the community, and we'll get you what you need. But I'm actually proud of that video, Will. I think it'll do a good job.
Yeah, I agree. Steve, so let's show the hungry audience here, I think, what they're really looking for, which is great. I've got this fancy new workflow. I want to take it for a test drive. I want to see, because one of the things that I'm really super excited about is the way that we've added visibility to the tasks themselves too. I think it's really going to help a lot of people better understand like what's going on. One of the things we hear all the time is I've got this workflow, but I have no idea where I am in it. Like, what do I do?
Yeah. So the first thing you're going to notice is I'm back on the home page. And let's look at the Doe household here. We have two tasks open for the Doe household. The first one's a normal task. It's not in a workflow, right? Just call them back later. One off task. And the bottom one is the schedule informational Zoom meeting, which comes from the prospect process workflow we just looked at. We're about halfway through that. So let's go ahead and open up this new workflow that is not in, or this task that is not in a workflow. And it should look almost identical to what you're used to, right? This is what we're used to seeing inside of Quivr. Now, how does that differ from this other one? Very, very much so. Notice initially, the first thing you're going to see is this flowchart. We'll get into this in these tabs in a second. You're also going to notice this workflow tracker. So what Quivr is doing here is it knows, is this task on my homepage or anywhere in the system a component of a workflow? If it is, give me workflow visibility. Let me see what is going on. If it is not part of a workflow, I don't need that. So just hide it. Don't give me that. So in specific, there are 3 boxes that are new or extra if it's a workflow. You get this top bar here, you get the workflow tracker here, and then the task steps box, which again is where you can enter the videos and whatnot to train your team and show you what they need to do to actually complete this step.
Yeah, and again, I think one of the things that we heard loud and clear from our users was, just frustrated workflow people from a lot of different CRMs is I can't tell where I am. I can't tell where I'm going. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. Like that's really where we're trying to give you visibility. And so those 2 boxes, the top one and the one there on the right, just so much information. And I think like we're not trying to overwhelm you. We're trying to give you some sense of where are you, what's coming up next. And you can see that from like the previous and the next in that top box. But you can also see like I have a link there into the previous task. I can click on that and go review the task that I just did.
Yep. Or, I mean, a common one that's going to be used here, ACH in, where to invest the money, right? How are we doing this? Like when the money is invested, where are we going to trade it, right? Now you're able to glean very quickly into the last task, or also you can come up here and these are hot links. So if I want to see the schedule a 20-minute phone call, this is a link. I can actually click on this and it will bring me to that task within the workflow. I am now looking at the first step of that workflow. So green ones are done, yellow ones are in progress, and then these kind of bluish grayish ones are what's coming up next, right? Where am I going to go after this task is completed? So you can see it in the flow chart. Again, it's all clickable. You can go see whatever you want. Here, right here is the step that you're in the workflow. Here is the name of the workflow if you want to know what's going on, right? What template are we using? Let's say you're more of a graph person or a flowchart person. You can click on the flowchart and look at this. This is exactly what you see inside of Archr, except there's color now. This green means the workflow step was done. The bluish grayish means it was skipped. Yellow means we're on that. So this is the task I'm on right now. So you can zoom around, you can check it out. Workflow overview. I mean, it's important, it's nice, but this just shows you every single step in this workflow for people that like graphs, who did it, when's it done, when was it due date, right? You can get some good information on this. And again, all of these right here are hot links. So I can go in and see, well, how did my paraplanner do when they created the financial plan? What did they do, right? You get to go in and see every single note from this page right here.
Yeah, I think it's just it's a really nice functional way to be able to kind of go back through the workflow without having to do a lot of searching around. It's all just right there. You can see who completed it. You can see when they completed it, grab all that information and move forward with your day.
Sure. Right here, then previous tasks. This was the task or tasks that were completed before this one got launched, which was probably this one right here. Or no, this one. There you go. Yep, monitor receipt. Oh, dummy. It says previous right there. Point is this task got created from that one as well, because if we look back at that flowchart, right, this is where we are. So when this one was done, both of those got kicked off. But now we have to decide some things. Notice this big yellow box. Select one and only task to run. What's going to happen next? So again, if we look back at the flowchart, I'm right here. After this task is done, I have to pick, am I going left or right? What am I doing? And this is showing you what you need to do. So let's see how this works. I haven't picked anything yet. If I try to complete this task, it will not let me. And why won't it let me, Will?
Steve, you were super naughty. You're going to spend some time in the corner. You didn't choose one direction to move forward. It's not a, dealer's choice, as you mentioned it earlier, this is you have to choose one of the paths. And so that's where, now you have to interact with this workflow a little bit and decide which direction are we going.
So let's say we're going to move forward. We're going to go to the next one, right? This is the tree we're going to go down. I hit that plus sign. Everything's green. I can now complete this task. But let's say I click this plus sign. Notice it's not green anymore. If I were to try to complete this task, it won't work because I can only pick one. Someone hit this minus sign to get rid of it. So if I were to complete this task that I'm on right now, schedule informational Zoom, would be completed. This next one would be launched and kicked off, and this one would be marked as skipped. I mean, let's do it. Let's just see what happens.
Wait. Oh, never mind.
I
Sorry. It's all good.
We'll do the note on the next one. But so if we come back into this, is that what you were going to get to?
That's exactly what I was going to get to. We'll do
So
the
if we
next
come
one.
back here now, right? We got more color on this. We went that way. That one, I can't see it. Let's zoom in. That one's yellow now. That one's skipped. It's gone. Now I got to make another decision. Are they becoming a client or not? And Will, what you were just going to say was what now?
One of the things that we got is, I remember very, very vividly being in, I think, office hours and saying, like, how do I insert a note? Like, something happened. I needed some additional information, or I got some additional information and I want to include that with the next step in the workflow. How do I do that? Like, there was no easy way to do that. Well, we figured it out. Now there is. You can add notes along the way.
So let's come in here. Really important. Oops, I can type today. Important piece of information for my rock star teammate. Let's go ahead and hit save. Now let's say we're going to go that direction. So I'm going to mark this one as plus because I have to, pick one. I'm going to mark this as complete. And remember, I put that in the becoming a client. I now click on becoming a client, and where does that note go? Right here. It is automatically going to be in the comments. It's going to be time stamped. It's going to say note added from the workflow task last modified by, I am currently logged in as a user. That's my alias, right? So if it was in my real Quivr environment for my firm, it'd be, S. Drost. And then down here, really important piece of information for my Rockstar teammate. So you're able to tell people what they need to do in future tasks.
And this is using some of that same timestamp functionality that we've got in other places that users are used to. But we've added that idea, or, we've added that a little bit of additional information that this is also, like, this came out of that workflow process so that, like, was this something that got added later? Like, where did it get added? Got added at the time that person was choosing which direction to move forward.
Exactly. But yeah, we didn't talk about this button. I know there's times when a workflow will get started and then you don't actually finish it for whatever reason. You can click abandon workflow if you want, and then it'll go away. It'll just mark it. It'll keep everything live in the system, but it'll just be marked that this workflow wasn't completed for whatever reason. Which for a prospect process, that could actually be kind of cool because then you can see I have this many prospect process workflows that are abandoned because the client lost touch or the prospective client never talked to me. So that's actually kind of a cool button. Hopefully you don't have to use it much, but it is kind of a cool button.
And I think one of the really interesting implications of that button is for, whether you're a solo or you're a really large firm, if you're finding that you've got a lot of abandoned workflows, it's probably an indication that the outcomes that you've got available might need some refinement. So if there's a reason that you just keep eliminating workflows midway through, then you might want to, that's probably a good indication that, wait, I'm missing something, or there's a final step that I'm not getting to that should be one of the outcomes that get offered as a conditional logic piece. The other thing about abandoned workflows that's kind of cool is they do have their own color coding, so you're gonna be able to see where they are. And then when you go to that workflow overview, you'll also be able to. No, you're okay.
Okay.
You'll also be able to see in that workflow overview thing, here's where it got abandoned.
Yeah. This
is where people keep bailing out of this workflow. And so there's, I think there's some good. If you're a process junkie like Steve and I, then it's there's some power there too, just in being able to see where are people abandoning them. And then you can kind of take that and be like, okay, why do people feel like they have to abandon these? Do I need to kind of fix how my workflows are running?
Sure. Yep. No, that's great. And then also when we're on the household page, so we're on the John and Jane household right now, and there's a few changes that we made. One, and it's actually not related to workflows, but I do want to mention it just because it's important. We've heard you guys, related parties. We don't have any for this test environment, but if they have a CPA, an attorney, an accountant, etc., they're now going to be listed here. We know that people don't love clicking this related parties button and then going to see them. So we simply took that data and we have also displayed it here. For the time being, we're going to keep this purple button, but we might get rid of it at some point in the future. We'll see. Feedback is always appreciated. But this way your contacts are showing up right where they need to be. You're a little closer, a little faster load time. But yeah, if we come down here, you'll also notice there's some tabs now on activity. So this alert new client is currently where we are in that workflow. So if I were to click on that task, it would bring me to the workflow we were just playing with. But you'll notice we have 3 additional tabs. Open workflows. So if I click into this, we are currently, and we've been doing some testing, but this prospect process, this is that workflow that we were just doing. We have 1 open task, 9 have been closed, and there's 5 skipped, and we've got a total of 18. It's giving you that insight as to what is going on. We can click into this and see that whole workflow information. We can also see workflows that have been completed. So this workflow for the backdoor Roth IRA, we closed 3, we skipped 1, and there are 4 total tasks a part of it, right? Where are we? What is getting done? And for some firms too, Will, you were mentioning it earlier, if I have workflows that are getting abandoned or going a certain route or just not flowing, you can see how many times am I doing the backdoor Roth IRA? How many times am I doing this? A huge advantage that I see from this is I'm going to be able to query on show me all open and completed workflows for making backdoor Roth IRA contributions. So I'm going to, when I have my process kick off, right, and those workflows are automatically getting kicked off, I'm going to know these 18 clients I'm done with and these 17 clients I still need to do it for. So you're now going to be able to see what workflows are open, what workflows are closed, and you can start tracking that data in a much more efficient manner. And then also
Yeah,
abandon
for
workflows, right? If we abandon any, they go here. Sorry, Will.
no. I was just going to say for our, for our larger firms that have that COO role where they're sort of trying to like monitor the entire firm. This is just gonna like I think this is really just gonna it's gonna be such a powerful benefit because they're gonna be able to see like, okay, now across the entire firm, I have reporting capability on all these workflows where I can see like what are we running most often, what seems to be getting abandoned most often, what's the one that takes like 2 weeks instead of taking a week. Like we're going to be able to see some really interesting information, I think, coming out of these because you have this ability to report on them too now. So it's going to be cool.
The one thing that I keep thinking about when it comes to this, and it was in the back of my mind as we were developing this, was the firm I used to work with. We called them qualified annual reviews, QARs. And that was the once a year we reviewed their plan. Hopefully we met with them. And if we didn't, we communicated with them in some form or fashion, basically to meet the minimum SEC requirement for due diligence with a client. And what I know the CCO at that firm would do is they would want to see on the left, everybody we've completed the QAR for, and on the right, everybody we haven't. And if that's a workflow, they will be able to do that. Not only that, they could then sort it by, and we had, I don't know, 10 advisors. They could then sort it by, okay, there are 17 clients where Steve is the advisor and the QARs haven't been done, but Johnny has 0 left. So Johnny's doing great. Steve, you need to pick it up, right? Especially as the time we got to the 4th quarter, because those had to be done by the end of the year. So just the insights to see what is going on with your firm and the querying and reporting and dashboards that we'll be able to create with this data, I am very excited.
Yeah, you and me both.
Well, that's all I got. Will, do you have anything else to add
No,
to this?
I think we hit it all. I think that the final important piece to note here is that like Steve and I love talking to individuals. We really want feedback about the product that we've created. We want to make it better. We want to make it more useful to you. And whether that's an email that you send us, whether that's coming to office hours and asking questions, like, that's one of the best things about our Quivr users is just they're so willing to share. Hey, can we do this a little bit differently? Can we make this a little bit better? And the answer is usually, yeah, we will absolutely try to accommodate you. And this is a good example of that. I mean, we heard from a lot of users about how, here's little tweaks we want for the workflow system, and I think we've nailed a lot of them.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I'm excited about what we have, and more so, we have this process. It's a process now. We push something that we think is good, and then people find ways to make it better. So we incorporate their ideas, and then we push something that we think is good or better, and then people find ways to tweak it. I know we're going to get feedback on this, and I'm very excited to hear what it is. So please don't be shy. People that tell us ideas, you are some of our favorite users, not our least favorite. We enjoy that. Our egos are not too big to the point where we think we know everything, because we don't. I mean, you've seen me, Will, like, oh, like, that's a super cool idea. Or, maybe I accidentally throw some profanity in it, but it's like, that's awesome. Like, we got to do that. That's super cool. Get that into the roadmap. But no. But again, I'm super excited about this. I hope you guys enjoy this update. Any questions, let us know. Hit the community, watch all the videos, get to office hours, and we're excited to see what this can do for you guys.